smell might be coming from raccoons nesting in the junk the landlord stored below. But then Paul stepped barefoot one morning in a wet spot on the carpet. Charlotte began at the top of the stairs that led up from the front door. Then she peed on the sofa cushions, on Paul's second-hand easy chair, and finally, by an inevitable progression, in the bed, on the pillows, in the middle of the mattress, among the rumpled sheets in the morning while Paul was still in the shower. The first time it happened, on the stairs, Paul did not tell Elizabeth about it. By time she made it back to Bluff City that particular weekend, Paul had blotted up the stain and the smell with a combination of baking soda and an enzyme he'd bought at a pet store. But the second time on the sofa happened on a Thursday night, and when Elizabeth came home on Friday morning, she stopped short inside the door with her bag still slung over her shoulder and wrinkled her nose at the sharp tang of cat pee. "Oh my God," she said. "Is that what I think it is?" Paul came away from his desk and nodded. Charlotte was nowhere to be seen. "Charlotte did that?" Elizabeth lowered her bag and looked about for the cat. Her immediate response, Paul could tell, was concern for Charlotte's well-being, with little to spare for her husband's. Though they no longer spoke of her as such, Charlotte had been Elizabeth's cat long before Elizabeth married Paul. She was the offspring, in fact, of an even older cat of Elizabeth's, long deceased, named Emily. Elizabeth loved to tell the story of Charlotte's birth, the whole litter born one icy January day in the back of a closet in her first apartment. The birth had ruined a pair of suede shoes, in honor of which, ever since she was 2, Charlotte had worn a green suede collar that matched her eyes. Now Elizabeth moved through the apartment with her head down, clicking her tongue for the cat, passing the couch without patting the damp spot or even glancing at the stain. "Are you all right, Charlotte?" she crooned from the bedroom where Charlotte had a hiding place. "What's wrong, boo-boo?" "It's not the first time, okay?" Paul raised his voice even though he knew that Elizabeth wasn't listening. She never listened when she was baby-talking to Charlotte. They took her to the vet, who tested Charlotte for urinary disease and several other things. But there was nothing physically wrong. She put Charlotte on a special diet anyway, to no avail. Every 3 or 4 days, Paul trod barefoot on a new wet spot in the carpet, or made an unscheduled trip to the laundromat with the bedclothes. Back at the vet's, Charlotte glowered up from the examination table as the vet knitted her brow and asked if there had been any recent sudden changes in household routine. Was there a new cat in the house? Had they moved the litter box? Changed the brand of cat litter? Elizabeth stroked Charlotte's head and glanced at Paul, who shook his head. "I have to ask," the vet said, crossing her arms. "Are you guys okay? No problems between the two of you?" "Oh, no," said Elizabeth. "I mean, we're fine." "Absolutely," said Paul. So Charlotte got her own prescription sedatives, 2 tiny pills every day, and the peeing stopped. But her first weekend home after the pills started, Elizabeth saw Charlotte stagger and walk into a wall, and she dumped the rest of the pills down the toilet. "Did you see her eyes?" Elizabeth said. "She's just a zombie." "I know," Paul said. "I don't like it either." On the phone, the vet threw up her hands, so to speak. "I've done everything I can do," she said. Unless what?" Elizabeth said, as Paul listened in from the phone in the bedroom. Their veterinarian had a vaguely New Age aspect to her. The magazines in her waiting room promised spiritual release of a generally non-denominational sort, and the speakers flowed with drifting, tuneless music. Paul and Elizabeth had noted this, and decided to ignore it because the vet was so good with Charlotte. "I have a friend," the vet said, "who's had some success at connecting, directly somehow, with animals." Paul stood up from the bed and walked to the limit of the phone cord. He caught Elizabeth's eye down the length of the hall as she stood at the phone in the kitchen. Elizabeth was tall, an inch or two taller than Paul, in fact.